On the go, you can download ThatCast on iTunes. The link's in the description. ThatCast, Episode 5, recorded on July 12th, 2017.
Have you heard that NASA has made an official statement that there are no child slaves on Mars?
Was that up for debate?
Yes.
By who? Like conspiracy theorists?
Okay, I read it and I loved it, and I'm going to recall it from memory, but obviously this whole thing's kind of ridiculous. So there's this guy on a radio station. He basically said that there was this pizza place that was having child slaves work in the basement, and that caused a lot of problems because one brave soul ran into that pizza place with a gun and was trying to free said hostages that weren't real. So the guy came on and he's like, I'm sorry, I took some small, stupid story and I blew it way out of proportion, blah, blah, blah. So a few weeks later, he has on this guest whose credentials all come from his official Wikipedia page.
Amazing.
First off, saying he's like a former, I can't remember, some branch of the government, FBI, CIA, CSI, Miami.com, I don't know, something like that. Saying, not only has NASA actually gotten people on Mars, they've actually kidnapped children and put them on a ship to Mars. And since they're stuck up there, their natural reaction is like, I have to survive. Might as well do what these people make me do. So, this radio guy totally took it as the truth, blew it out of proportion. And so whoever drew the short straw at NASA had to go forward and be like, no, there aren't people on Mars, and we definitely don't have child slaves. We got some rovers up there, but that's about it.
I want to know who the radio guy is who is gullible enough to believe that.
And then on top of all of that, right, this is the best part about the whole story. The spokesperson who was like, who had to go up and confirm there aren't child slaves on Mars. He's like, I think what's really shocking, though, is that there was only one weird lying story on the internet this week.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. NASA has confirmed no child slaves on Mars.
No slaves on Mars.
But on Uranus, who knows? So ThatCast.
ThatCast.
I'm that guy.
I'm that guy.
So that guy, what have you been up to recently?
Not much different, to be honest. My life is still pretty much dominated by Fallout 4, even though it's an old game at this point.
Yeah, but it's the most recent Bethesda game that's not like Elder Scrolls Online or anything like that.
I never tried Elder Scrolls Online. My friend Mike did, but it was okay.
I looked at it and I was like, this doesn't look like Skyrim Online. I'm good.
Exactly. Well, I just discovered survival mode in Fallout 4 not too long ago, and it's just, super difficult, because you actually have to eat and drink and sleep at normal intervals, and you can't fast travel anywhere. And it's really difficult, especially because I decided to spec my character as if it was me. So
God.
I've got like no...
Really stupid, really slow, really weak, not very... Actually, I just have 1 in all the special stats. I tried to do 0, but they wouldn't let me.
I have no strength and no endurance, which are the two things that define how fast you can run and how much health you have. And it's just like, great. So I'm basically stuck as a sneak character, which I love sneak characters anyways. But it took a while to get to that point. I basically ran around the upper northwest part of the map for the first 10 levels. I didn't even get past Lexington until I got to level 10. It was so dangerous out there in the real world.
I tried to make a Samurai Jack character because, Samurai Jack's in the future. Thought that'd work quite nicely. Found a cool sword mod and all this stuff. But immediately after trying survival mode, I had to save, or I wanted to say, I had to sleep, and I could not find a bed for the life of me. I finally find a stupid sleeping bag in an abandoned house. I'm like, perfect. I sleep and I'm like, okay, 6 hours, let's go. And then after 3 hours, it wakes you up. It's like, sorry, you can't get a full night's sleep without a real bed. If you're tired, you're gonna sleep.
Apparently not. Yeah, sleeping bags are 3 hours, mattresses are 5, and a bed is full 8 hours or whatever you want. But the worst part is if you don't sleep a full 8 hours, and sometimes even if you do, you can wake up with diseases, which doesn't make any sense.
If anything, it should get rid of diseases. Your body is resting in usually combat or whatever. I don't care. Freaking Fallout 4. Well, I'll talk about that later because it's I got to talk about it in my music section, actually, a bit.
Really? All right.
Yep. So I wanted to talk about a couple things in games that guy. Technically, my list has grown like exponentially since I wrote this because we record these about every 2 weeks. And so my list grows from like, what am I going to talk about to like, holy crap, I have so much. I need to filter it down. But I want to talk about 2 games. And first off, I'm not sure if you noticed, but a couple weeks back, almost all of the Yogscast channels were sponsored World of Tanks videos.
No, I did not notice that.
I don't think Sips, but Duncan, Rythian, Tim, Shin, Terps, Tom, Martin, Hat Films. I don't think it was on the main channel, actually. But pretty much
that
all...
would make sense because I'm only subbed to the main channel in Sips.
Well, like, I didn't know, like, Rythian and Duncan, for example, but they all made teams and had to fight each other. That was all part of the ad campaign. Now, are you familiar with the game World of Tanks?
Sort of. I've watched some gameplay of it before. It's just tank warfare, essentially, right?
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about, is how freaking derp that is. In any game, really, when you get in a tank, you expect to be the biggest, toughest, maneuverable, but maybe slow thing on the battlefield, killing lots of things, and then when somebody blows you up, you're sad, and you probably can't be in a tank for a while. Right? Am I right here?
That makes sense, yeah. In a lot of games like the Battlefield franchise, tanks are a force to be reckoned with. If you want to take them down, you gotta, use teamwork and lots of RPGs and grenades and stuff.
But this game takes all the joys of tanks and throws it out the window and is like, hey, look, we have the scout tank. We have the sniper tank. We have the tank. It's funny, but it's true, too. It's like all the tanks kill the other tanks in like 1 or 2 hits. It's like, what the crap is this?
They're trying to make it more realistic.
I don't understand how people get joy out of this game. Maybe because it's free, but still, how do you get joy out of a game where everything is tanks and it's just takes away the point of being in a tank?
I don't know. Well, that's like there are dogfighting games, like airplanes and stuff like that. There was a dogfighting game that I forget the name of. I think it was called Blue Angels or something like that for the PS3 that I played over at Mike's house years and years ago. And I hate flying games because I'm terrible at them. But it wasn't even that fun for me. Mike loved it. To each their own. But if there's nothing on the ground to like hit with bombs or, people to shoot at on the ground, I don't understand the point of air combat either because I just don't enjoy it.
See, that's understandable. But here's the difference in my mind anyways, is you see a lot of things where it's air combat. The Red Baron or whatever. We have the Air Force. We don't have the Tank Force. Why don't we have the Tank Force in America? That's the most American sounding thing, like right after the Shotgun Force.
The Tank Force. It's because the air is bigger and freer, so they need...
Then we just make flying tanks.
I was just going to say that. I feel like they should just have flying tanks then.
No, you think like, okay, we put wings and like jets on tanks. No. That's too simple. That's what the terrorists will expect. What we do is we now get the clown force in the army who will blow us 1 billion balloons filled with helium. That's so stupid.
You could just pull a full A-Team the movie on this and fly a tank. I've never actually seen the A-Team the movie. I just like the old 80s TV show. I'm going to see it eventually, but I know there's a part where they're in a tank and then a parachute deploys, and then they try to fly the tank by shooting the shell in the opposite direction of where they want to go. It's so great.
It is great. There's a couple slow parts in it, and they don't build a tank out of nothing like the A-Team does in the show. But the first, season and a half or 2 seasons of the original A-Team, they didn't do that either. They didn't start building tanks out of nothing until, a little bit more into the series.
And I don't know if, they didn't do that every single time. It depends on what scumbag or sleazeball or other type of thing that Hannibal calls people. If it denoted having a tank to deal with them or if it was just a bunch of traps that they set up or whatever.
I really enjoyed the A-Team movie, and there's a big following that does as well, and they wanted a sequel, but there never was a sequel, so sad face.
We'd just get more Liam Neeson if there was a sequel, and I'm all cool with that.
Liam Neeson and Bradley Cooper. You really can't go too wrong with that combo.
True. Rocket Raccoon and Qui-Gon Jinn.
I've been playing Brutal Legend quite a bit. I got 10 hours in the game, and I got a couple complaints about it. At the same time, though, you can forgive the complaints, because first off, I think I spent $1.50 on the game. For those of you who don't know the concept of the game, you play as Jack Black. I'm sorry. You play as Eddie something or other.
Eddie Riggs.
Eddie Riggs, that's right. Do you think it's too much of a spoiler if I say exactly what happens in the first, 5 minutes of the game?
No.
Okay, you play as Eddie Riggs, who is a roadie for a band during the time where metal has devolved from being metal to, hardcore pony songs.
Hey!
Hey, Future That Guy here. People actually have made pony metal songs, and they're pretty good, kind of like this one here. Anyways, back to the podcast.
No, I don't mean to be rude, that guy. It's just kind of what it sounds like. It's just the opening band is playing a song, and they're, trying to do Screamo, but, the Barney theme song. I love you, you. To that extent.
From what I remember, it kind of just sounds like an attempted metal at, a 90s boy band.
And it sounds a little something like this.
I can fix anything, except that. Metal is dead.
And then saving some guy's life, Eddie dies, and it summons a demon, which causes some kind of metal apocalypse, which is probably the most metal thing that could happen in the universe. And he wakes up in this strange land with demons and a guitar and an axe that kills things. And there's also, surprise, surprise, strategy to the game where you have to manage resources and summon in help to fight other bad guys at certain points.
As Eddie himself says, he says that if a guitar in this land summons fire and lightning, he can't wait to see what a full-on metal concert does, and that's how you fight your battles. You build a giant stage, and you fight demons by playing a metal concert.
You get to one point where you recruit roadies, and roadies are good against taking out these towers that basically snipe the rest of your team. So you need to send just them. To do that, you need to awkwardly select the tower, not hard, but then if you've summoned in a bunch of minions, we'll just call them minions right now because I can't think of a better word. If you call a bunch in of mixed variety, but you need just the roadies to go after the tower you've selected, you have to line yourself up just right, highlight them, press a button, and then tell them to go to the tower. And it's a real pain in the butt, especially if you summon in, say, 3 groups of roadies, and then you have a bunch of other types of minions. It's really hard to just send them out. It's not the greatest optimization. I still really enjoyed the game. Loved the rock and roll. What really sold it for me when Ozzy Osbourne shows up as the Guardian of Metal in the trailer, and he just goes, "It's about time." I was like, I need this game now.
Do you remember the character's name who's your AV type guy with the handlebar mustache?
Yeah, I've met him. I don't remember his name.
Because he's my favorite character.
Oh, he's a great character. He really is.
He just seems like such a chill dude.
His name is Mangus.
So, Brutal Legend has spawned 2 topics I want to talk about. One is negative, and one is positive. The negative one is I want to talk about the Steam trading card system.
Okay.
Do you look at your trading cards often, that guy?
I could care less about trading cards. I've got the full set of trading cards for the TF2 characters 5 times over, so I have the highest level TF2 badge. And other than that, whenever I get a trading card that's worth something more than 5 cents, I'll usually just sell it.
Cool. You get the little notification saying, oh, you have a new trading card. Do you open it up and look at it and then just close your Steam out usually?
I do open it up and look at it, but that's because I just want to get rid of the little notification.
I've gotten 5 trading cards from Brutal Legend. 2 of them are major story spoilers.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil them for you, but I'm kind of pissed.
Rightfully so.
I just got it, and I'm like, okay, let's see. Let's click on this. And one says Eddie's dad. Click on it. Just read the little description. Big spoiler right in there. Massive spoiler.
It's just oh, man, Eddie's dad is actually the bad guy. Dun, dun, dun.
No, it's Eddie's dad is actually Bruce Campbell.
Ooh, I think that'd be a pretty good spoiler, though.
That'd be such a weird way to twist the game about metal music, just Bruce Campbell at the end of it. I mean, we'd love it, but the average metalhead's going to be like, wait, what? Bruce Campbell?
You know
what?
Who would absolutely love it? Psycho Stick.
That's true. And then I got another card, and I clicked on it, and the whole card is a spoiler. The name on the card and the description is another huge spoiler in the story. These 2 cards I got super early on, too. Steam should just have a system where either no spoiler cards, or more importantly, certain cards unlock at certain points in the story. Isn't that like how you get cards, like at certain points of gameplay or something like that? Or is it hours?
When you buy it, you've got, I don't know, let's just say you get 5 cards for buying the game. After you play the game for the first time, you're probably going to get like 3 of them. And then as you continue to play the game for longer, I think it's just based on how long you've spent in the game. Even if you were just on the main menu, your hours counter on Steam would go up, and I'm pretty sure that would count, and you would get more trading cards. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like that's the way it's been. For me, anyways.
I just pulled up the Eddie's dad card. His dad looks pretty badass, to be honest, in this picture. But it's literally a sentence. One sentence ruined a big chunk of the game for me. I'm quite upset. So something good did come out of Brutal Legend. Like, something amazing that I never even realized. But on, like, my 5th time loading up to the game, I realized the company that was behind the game called Double Fine.
Okay.
And I was like, this seems familiar. Why does this, like, ring such a bell? And I look it up. You know what other game these guys made?
No.
We're behind? Psychonauts.
Oh, okay.
Remember that game I found? And I was like, oh my god, this game's amazing. And I love it so much. It's so much like this game. They got a lot of other games. They have this game called Costume Quest. I played that on PlayStation a while back. That was a really good game. I kind of want to play it again, to be honest, now that I think about it. They remade Grim Fandango. I watched 2 playthroughs of that game. And they actually made an app game called, hold on, I have it on my phone because it's really great, Micromanager of Justice, where you play a manager of a group of superheroes. It's really good, actually. It's surprising, too, because there are microtransactions in the game, of course, because every company wants to make money. But there's no ads, and unlike most games where you set something up to wait, these free games where you be like, hey, go do this thing, and 8 hours later you come back and it's done. While there are some small things like that that take like an hour, most of the things take like a couple minutes. So you kind of are managing things. Like you say, hey, well, one of the first superheroes you get is Sweet Justice. Okay. And you say, go train your stamina. And then he goes, okay. And he goes off and trains the stamina. Then you say, then as you get more heroes, you'll be like, hey, Galaxy Girl, go practice this skill. And Hothead, go research this new item. And then you can have your manager do work to bring in some extra cash, or have him train up skills for himself to help your heroes fight. And then you send them out to fight, and you have to keep districts happy so you can collect taxes from them. It's really good. I actually haven't touched it in a while because of another game that came out, but I don't want to talk about that because that's just too much in the game section. Maybe next time. And by maybe, most 100% definitely.
That's what keeps them coming back. You gotta, if you want to hear about what that guy has to say about some other game, and he is much more knowledgeable about games than I am, because I would just talk about Fallout until Fallout burns out, and then I go into another game that I just dominates my life, because that's how I game.
Until the next Fallout game comes out.
No, see, that's how I game, okay? I find a game that I like, and I just play that for a long time, and then eventually I burn myself out on it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll come back to it eventually one day. Maybe 6 months down the line, I'm thinking to myself, nah, I'm not going to go back to that. And then 2 months later, I try it out again, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is amazing, this game is life. It happened with Unturned, the zombie survival game. It happened with TF2, and it's happening with Overwatch and Fallout currently.
Just a brief moment on Overwatch. Since the last time we did podcast, Doomfist has been out.
Doomfist is out, not officially in the actual game. I'm pretty sure he's still just in the PTR, the public test region. Yeah. But yes, he is out right now, and he looks pretty cool.
And more importantly, the only way I'm going to play Overwatch is if Terry Crews voiced Doomfist, and he doesn't.
So that means Joe's not going to play Overwatch now.
Unless if Bruce Campbell or Morgan Freeman shows up, which was the private conversation that guy and I had earlier.
Yes. But Doomfist is, I think, the 8th or the 9th offensive character. But, I mean, as if we needed another offense character, because those are the most popular ones anyways. And he's really interesting, considering his primary fire isn't really that powerful. Not to say it's underpowered. It's a little wrist shotgun. Well, actually, it's a knuckle shotgun.
I watched a video on Doomfist, and there was a bit of reviews in it. Basically, the person was saying that he heavily relies on his abilities.
Oh, absolutely. His abilities, I think, have like the longest cooldown is probably like 6 seconds or so, which isn't very long at all for a cooldown. And the 3 things that he does are his main ways of dealing damage.
And that was kind of upsetting to hear about because that would have been the one character I played as. End of story. Okay, on to movies. Is that your sound effect you make?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, on to movies. I don't have anything to talk about on the movie front.
I got 3 things because one thing we don't really have a topic for, so I just squeezed it into movies because it's the closest thing. So first off, that guy, are you familiar with a very classic movie starring the incredible Robin Williams known as Jumanji?
No, actually.
You've never? Oh my gosh. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I think I've heard the name of it, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that guy. This movie is a classic. I'm so upset at you. I'm just flabbergasted.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Robin Williams had a lot of movies.
He did. This was one of my more favorite movies. The original Jumanji film, starring good old Robin Williams, came out in 1995. The story is there's this board game. It takes place in the Jumanji jungle. That's the board game. It'll be like, oh, monkeys come out and attack you. Lose 1 turn. All of a sudden, monkeys come out of the actual board and like attack you.
Oh, no.
And there's a lot more to it. There's giant spiders and man-eating plants. And the base of the story is Robin Williams played this game as a kid, and he gets a thing that says lost in the jungle. Player has to roll 5 or an 8 for you to get out. And he gets sucked up into the board. And the girl he's playing with gets scared and runs off. And 26 years later, these 2 young kids start playing the game. One of them rolls like an 8, and Robin Williams comes out, and he's like an old man with a beard who was living in this horrible jungle for 26 years. And they had to play the game, and someone has to win in order to put out all the horrible creatures that are coming out back into the game. Really good movie. Highly worth a look. The reason I bring this up is because they're doing a remake of Jumanji, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and can't remember the poor girl's name. She plays Amy in Doctor Who with Matt Smith, and she plays Gamora in, not Gamora, Nebula, thank you, in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2.
Well, it still doesn't help me with her actual name.
Kristen Gillian, that's who it is.
Okay.
Kristen Gillian. I see Jumanji game, and I go, okay, is this a remake? Is this set in the same universe? Blah, blah, blah. First off, it's a 100% remake because instead of being a board game,
it's a video game.
It's a video game.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, the console they had was like a mix of an Atari and an NES from the looks of it. And that really pissed me off, first off, because board games aren't outdated.
They're not. We still play them.
You could have still used a board game. You didn't have to make it into a video game. These kids get freaking sucked up into the video game, and they become the avatars they chose. So, like, the really skinny, nerdy guy is now Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The tall, black jock guy is now Kevin Hart. The average-looking girl, I guess, is now Kristen Gillian. Is it Karen or Kristen now? Now I'm doubting myself. I don't care. And the other, snotty girl is Jack Black. It's pretty funny. I like the concept. Don't get me wrong. I like the sound of the concept. I was just upset because I don't even... Why? The other thing, though, I didn't like was in the original Jumanji, it seemed like death was an actual issue. Like, they could actually die. In the trailer, it shows Jack Black being, chomped on by a freaking hippopotamus. Looks goofy as hell, but it kind of removes the whole danger of the whole situation.
Well, the song "I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas" told me that hippopotamuses are vegetarians.
Well, this is a video game. This is a movie with a video game in it, so they're kind of liberal with their rules. I was just kind of pissed that they remade Jumanji. It's not a board game, and I'm gonna guess that they're not even gonna have some kind of ode to Robin Williams in it.
I hope they have something, just even in the very end credits or something.
Oh, I would hope so too, but I already feel like they already kind of tarnished the whole thing. So on to music. That guy, what have you been listening to this week?
I ended up earlier today ordering 2 Eagles CDs. I ordered The Long Road Out of Eden and Hell Freezes Over, their 2004 album and their 1994 live album as well. But I was looking up some of the songs on The Long Road Out of Eden. Actually, I think it's 2006. I don't know. I'm going to hate myself for not knowing that.
The songs on the album were recorded between 2001 and 2007. The album was released in 2007.
But I was trying to look up some of the songs on YouTube or whatever to try to find out what they sounded like, and you can't find them. You can find most of the older Eagles songs on YouTube, but even some of the older ones have been taken down indefinitely, and like nobody has them. So I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to like the music, but I don't know what they're going to sound like at all. But I ordered them, and they're going to be here on Saturday, so I'm going to have fun listening to, I think it's like literally 90 minutes on The Long Road Out of Eden. That's a really long album.
There's 3 songs I've been really listening to this week, that guy, a lot. And each one has a different small little story to go behind. The first song I've been really jamming out to, I'm kind of hoping you've heard this song, that guy, because it's been out for a while, is the song Rasputin by Boney M.
Oh, I know that song.
The way I found the song is I like to watch Source Filmmaker videos, and one of my recommended feeds was a Source Filmmaker version of that song. I clicked on it, started listening to it, got about 25 seconds in or so, and I was like, this sounds like a good song. So I stopped and I went and watched like one of the original renditions of it. That was pretty entertaining to watch this band try to perform it on a weird green screen. And then there's another video of them where like the male singer is like in a weird, like stereotypical Russian and Indian attire. And he's got like this massive fake beard on. It was an enjoyable video to watch. The other video I watched was a animated video, which had nothing to do with the song, but the animation goes along with the beat and all that. The music video is fantastic, and I highly recommend everyone watches it.
Well, the deal with Rasputin is that he was a real dude, and he was, like, really difficult to kill. He was, like, an ambassador of some sorts, and then he, like, got invited to a country or something, and then they were like, hey, we want to kill this guy sneakily or whatever, so they tried poisoning him, and then they tried, like, getting him drunk and pushing him out into the pond in the garden, and then he got caught underneath the ice or whatever. And then they, like, beat him to death with, like, a garden rake or whatever. I'm making that part up, but I do remember something about that from Global History, too, back in 10th grade.
The other song I've been jamming out to is, did I write down the artist? I did not. It's called A Perfect Hero, and it's a Eurobeat song that I found because I had, you know, one of those playlist videos, that guy? It's just one video of all the songs.
Yeah, you just click on it, and then somebody else has made a playlist of a bunch of different songs that are very similar, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying, like, it's somebody's playlist. I'm saying it's one video. Like, it's a hour, some long video of a bunch of songs.
Oh.
It was one of those playlist videos. I just clicked it, and I listened to the whole thing one day, and this song stood out. That guy, can you take a guess on the other song I've been listening to quite a bit this week?
Well, you said it had something to do with Fallout.
It's a video I made on my channel recently.
Oh, of course. That kind of Fallout.
I don't know why. I just started listening to the Captain Underpants theme song again, and then I made a mini music video sampler on my channel.
So I have got a song that I've been listening to all week, and I've been trying to learn all the lyrics to, and it deals with Fallout as well. It's by these guys called the Wasteland Whalers, and they make songs based on Fallout and stuff like that.
Whoa, really? I couldn't tell by their name.
I know, right? They have lots of songs, but the one I've been listening to is called When the Sun Comes Back. So essentially it deals with, obviously, people being in the vaults underground forever and not coming out, but then essentially the sun becomes a myth, you know? What is a sun? People don't understand. So it's a whole song about when the sun comes back, you're going to invite him in and he's going to tell you stories about all the places that he's been while you've been underground.
Well, that sounds good. In real life, it's like, hey, oh, it's bright.
Exactly. It's like, just
close the door.
I don't like this. When you open up the vault door, just lens flares everywhere. J.J. Abrams. Ah!
Hey, this is a cool little fun fact about Fallout 4. Originally, they had this idea where you weren't going to be frozen in the vault. It was a slightly different story. But when you come out, they were going to have this original idea where you had to wear like goggles or sunglasses for a while until your eyes adjusted to the natural light. But then I think they just scrapped the whole thing because they're like, well, first off, that's complicated. And second of all, in your relativeness, you've only been in this vault for like 10 minutes.
I've just got some normal stuff to follow up with.
Okay.
First off, I found out today that my sock had a hole in it. And this is like the third time.
the pinnacle of our podcast. The highlight. We have reached the climax. It is all downhill from here.
I can't breathe.
Okay,
man.
we're gonna retire our channels. We're gonna go live in the mountains now. We've reached our highest point of entertainment.
Jump the shark.
I'm sorry, I saw the opportunity and I took it.
It was perfect.
Okay, so you had a hole in your sock. Tell me more. Hold on. I gotta do this right. So you had a hole in your sock. Tell me more.
Oh no, I had a hole in my sock, and I noticed it was like the third time that it had happened in like a week. So it's that time where you have to go out and buy more socks.
It just keeps getting better.
But
this is what we subscribe. What I subscribe to listen to.
No, but the thing is, I've got two different types of socks. I've got Hanes socks, and I've got some kind of sock that starts with a G, and I forget. But either way, I should have been paying attention to which socks got the hole in them, so I wouldn't buy those ones again.
Is that your whole story? Wow.
That's one of the whole stories. Another thing I had to talk about real quickly, because I don't want to get into it, but have you heard about the net neutrality thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so basically companies are being like, no, you have to pay more to access the entire internet and certain websites, and then the internet's like, what are you talking about?
We're the internet.
You can't fight the internet. It doesn't happen, okay? Fight the bull, you're gonna get the horns. This is not going to last very long at all. So I'm not even worried about it, but I figured I'd bring it up.
Okay.
And thirdly, I wanted to point out that I was at Walmart with my friends the other day. We were in the electronics section, and we were looking at the games that they have in the little display cases, and then we moved around the corner, and they still have CD-ROM games. They were like $5 a piece or, something ridiculous like that, and they were all garbage, like knockoff minigame type things. And I'm thinking, who even buys them?
My grandmother. Because a lot of those games are like the click and find games.
Yeah, stuff like that.
And my grandmother loves the crap out of those games.
Besides your grandma, it can't be people who are poor, because you could just play Wikipedia. Have you ever played Wikipedia? Maybe if I explain it, you'll understand. Pick a topic. I'm going to ask you right now live. Pick a topic. Actually, don't, because we all know you're just going to pick Bruce Campbell. So go ahead and pick a topic.
Oxygen.
Okay, and then I'm gonna pick a topic. I'm gonna pick Bruce Campbell. No, just kidding. I'm gonna pick hot dogs. All right. So we make sure that Oxygen and hot dogs both have Wikipedia pages. Of course they do. But if you had something more obscure, it might not actually have a Wikipedia page. But either way, once you know that they both have pages, you start on one. So we start on Oxygen, and then you have to get to the Wikipedia page for hot dogs by only clicking on the blue links, and then whoever gets there first wins, and then they tell the other person. It's kind of like a gentleman's agreement. You're not cheating or anything like that. And then you go back, and then you share your paths on how you got there. You're like, oh, I was on Oxygen, and I clicked on this, that, and the other thing, and then 20 more things, and I finally got to hot dogs. And it's actually ridiculously fun. It sounds kind of boring, but I played it with my friend Jason, I don't know, a couple months ago, just because we were bored one night and nobody else was online. And we were just like, I don't know, we've been playing a lot of Unturned recently, and I'm kind of bored of that. And he's just like, you want to play Wikipedia? And I was just like, yes, I do.
I'm trying to just give myself a small demonstration. Do you go down to the C also? Is that what you're talking about? Or just any of the blue links?
Just any of the blue links.
Okay. So I could click on language Borashish. That's technically a blue link.
Well, let me see. If I go to the Oxygen Wikipedia. No,
I'm on the hot dog.
Oh, you're on hot dog.
Well, that sounds like a cool kind of variation almost, is one person is on one end of the spectrum and the other person's on the other.
You could do that too, yeah. But what you're supposed to do is just click on any of the blue links that are on the main article bit. You're not supposed to click on the sidebar or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
And if you get down to the very bottom, yeah, you can just ignore all of the citations and stuff like that. I suppose you could use the citations if you want to, but they're probably not very useful considering they're just a bunch of books usually.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just click on things in the main article. You got to get from one to the other.
under hot dogs that had culture of the United States. I'm like, come on, there's got to be something about our air quality here.
See, you're looking for it. So that's the thing. You can either go for the strategy of just click on something random or try to read and skim through the article to try to find something semi-related.
Cool.
It's difficult to find paths like that, and then sometimes you'll just find really random things. You're like, oh my god, that's great.
So that guy, I do agree with this, that there's now this free game on the internet that everyone can go play. But you also need to realize that people don't always have the internet.
That is true.
We recently were playing Cards Against Humanity with our friends.
Yes.
And, that guy, I feel like you and I were really in sync on a lot of those cards.
We were.
We were really in each other's minds. We knew how each other thought. And so I'm driving down the road with my sister, and I go, Jay, what would me and that guy's ship name be? Because the normal way it works doesn't work.
I suppose, yeah.
She pauses for a minute. Those guys.
Those guys.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd share that.
Great. Just what I always wanted.
And now it's time for a Project H story by Joe Thunder. Project H is a secret government organization tasked with taking average people, turning them into heroes, and saving the universe.
Project H, meeting the team. Commander Campbell and the President booked it around the corner. The President had no idea what to expect. A weapon malfunction, a random mutation, a pizza was dropped on the floor. It happens more often than you think. So much so that it's referred to as a Code 237 in the President's codebook. As they rounded the corner, the President was a little disappointed to what he saw. 4 20-something-year-old men sitting on the floor in front of a TV playing some kind of racing game. Another man was sitting in a chair watching, and 2 20-something-year-old women sitting on a couch. One was trying to read while the other was on a laptop. One of the razors was furiously swearing while the other guys laughed their heads off. The lady seemed to be having a hard time not giggling at this as well. Duck and salmon fillets with a side of tanga gravy, he swore. Why do I play this Swiss chocolate game with you meatloaves? Hey, Commander Campbell barked. The whole group turned around and looked at the President and Commander Campbell. I thought I said no Tony cars. This surprised the President. He thought Commander Campbell didn't take this meeting serious, that maybe he didn't really exercise his authority properly. The President started to feel some respect towards the Commander. How am I supposed to beat you guys if you play without me? Commander Campbell asked. The President's feelings of respect were gone. Sorry, Commander Campbell, said the guy who was swearing and the guy sitting in the chair. They stood up and saluted. Those your fanboys? The President asked. What gave it away? Commander Campbell grumbled. Come on, Bruce, said one of the players. This guy had a thick head of hair and a beard. You said you had no idea when the President would show up, and this is the easiest game to just stop when we have to. That's true, Commander Campbell stated. He turned to face the President. There was almost a second Grand Canyon because we were stuck in a mega fight cousins tournament. The President rolled his eyes. After an awkward silence, the guy who was swearing introduced himself and gave the President a firm handshake. Mr. President, he said, my name is Joe. I take role of captain when we're on the field. Joe was just a bit taller than the 6-foot-tall President and looked like he hadn't exercised in a few years. The President tried not to judge, but when the safety of the world is at stake, he kinda has a right to. The rest of the team introduced themselves to the President with a surprising amount of respect. Now that introductions are out of the way, why don't you guys go power up and we'll give the President the demonstration, Commander Campbell suggested. Right on, Commander Campbell, Joe said. You heard him, team. Let's get over to the micro... A loud alarm cut him off. Commander Campbell and the team ran off towards the control room, and the President followed. They gathered around the table as all the people in white and gray jumpsuits worked at terminals and exchanged information. An older man joined them at the table. He wore a well-decorated general suit and hat. He had a thick mustache, wore sunglasses, and looked well over 90 years old. All right, team. We have reason to believe that the Znaks are going to attack this small, remote town in the middle of nowhere. That's because the town was built unknowingly on top of a large space rock-like thing made of a material not found on Earth. Project H's objectives are to evacuate the town and neutralize the Znaks while creating the least amount of damage to the town as possible. Any questions? The President had a dozen, but he didn't need the answers. What he needed was to confirm the threat and that this Project H can handle it. All right, Project H, to the microwave, Joe said. The team ran off down the hallway. The President turned his head to the Commander. What did he mean by microwave? The President asked with concern. It's what they call the H radiation inducer, Commander Campbell said. In fairness, it is a large radiation-proof box that emits high levels of radiation in a short amount of time. But it's H radiation, so it's not like they're being cooked or anything. Now, Mr. President, if you turn your attention to the monitor. The President did, but couldn't help but notice the General was no longer there. Where'd the old guy go? The President asked. Who? General Lee? Commander Campbell said. He just shows up and leaves like that all the time. It's why they call him the King of Cameos. The President was going to ask a question when the event on the monitor distracted him. What he saw was Joe waving the team into a small room with thick walls and a thicker door. Once everyone was inside, Joe hit a button just outside the door, closed it, and took his place in what appeared to be a practice position. Poles producing a bright light descended and began to spin around the team. They got faster and faster until a blinding flash covered the screen. As it faded, what was once a normal group of young adults were now a costumed group of young adults, with one noticeable difference. Joe was now almost 10 feet tall and had huge bulging muscles. To be continued. Next time
I like General Stan Lee.
I didn't say his name was General Stanley. I just said his name was General Lee, sir.
Yes, but we all know.
If you're implying something.
Well, are you
No,
trying
yeah.
to say that General Lee the car from the Dukes of Hazzard?
Yes.
Yes, he's turned into an old man with a mustache.
I hope you enjoyed my second episode. I don't normally share my stories, so I'm quite excited that I'm sharing them.
I liked it.
That's good. If you liked it, that's all that matters, that guy, because you're the only other one who listens to this. And next episode, there will be some epic action descriptions, because you don't really watch the fight scenes in a story, you just listen to them. And now to sign off with a prayer. You should say it before you go to bed if you're feeling like maybe you won't wake up to see the morning.
Oh, jeez.
Dear Bruce Campbell that resides in my heart, it is now time for me to sleep. Please don't kill me while I rest, but if you do, I probably deserve it. Groovy.
Groovy. See, I thought it was going to rhyme at first.
That was kind of the point. Oh, I made it.
And then it's just like, nah, screw rhyming. Rhyming's stupid.
And probably by now you're hearing the end music, so it's probably time for us to wrap it up.
Yeah, man, the end music's only so long.
I'm Joe Thunder.
I'm
I messed you up.
I'm a person.
I too am a person.
Hello, yes, I for too am a person. I'm SOENJAY.
Also known as that guy.
And that guy.
And you've been listening to
That cast.
Bye!
Goodbye.